All right, how's everyone doing? I'm Rich CELENZA. Thanks for tuning in to the Rich CELENZA Show. WTF are you talking about? So what I want to call this podcast is, how much shit do you talk? So I grew up around a lot of Italians, a lot of different, actually other nationalities as well. And the one thing when I was younger, before I don't think I spoke really until I was around 5 years old. I just said a few words here and there. So I used to really observe how everybody was acting and interacting, and I had a really loud family. My mother and father are very vocal extroverts, so there wasn't always time to even get a word in edgewise. But then growing up in my father's nightclub and then going into the vending business in Florida with him for the next X amount of years till I was like 40 years old, when you are in those environments, bars, nightclubs, gentlemen's clubs, how much shit people talk really gets overwhelming. And not only that, you just start to pick up and master the bullshit radar. And, it's unbelievable how much shit people talk, not only now verbally or through text, Facebook Messenger, or through social media in general. It still kind of blows me away how they get away with it and how people don't call them out on it. Now, a lot of times we have friends and we used to yell, I call bullshit, when somebody's talking shit. A lot of times we used to do that just to be an asshole. But in my mind, I hear that constantly. And I hear this a lot with a lot of different sales, men and women, just people pitching their bullshit, especially when it comes to certain lifestyles or business or just so many different things. And I want people to kind of become self-aware that a lot of times they may be this type of person, but when you're talking, and I'm not blaming, I don't know if you talk shit or not, right? And I think to a certain point, everyone talks a little shit or exaggerates a little bit here or there, tells a little fib maybe lies once in a while, whatever the case may be. It is what it is. And then we also have people out there that are just always lying, right? Always talking shit, always bogging us down. But what I want you to think about in this podcast is if you're one of these people, because I don't think you're actually self-aware, or people are as self-aware as they, regarding their behavior. And I see this a lot with people that talk a lot, and you kind of get caught having to listen to them, right? Or you just see people in general that are always talking, and a lot of what they're saying is, it may be a little bit informative, but it's just a lot of nonsense talk. I used to call it prison talk. Because if you've ever known people in the joint like I have, or in jail, whatever the hell you want to call it, and they have nothing but time on their hands. So they talk and talk and talk. And it's kind of like, my girlfriend once called it circle talking, where you kind of start on a subject and you keep talking, but nothing's really, like, it's just all shit. Like there's no substance behind it. Or you go like full circle where it's the same thing over and over again, kind of. But you got to pay attention if you're one of these people, either getting caught up always having to listen to these type of people, or if you're one of these people that never shuts the fuck up, right? And I see people sometimes, and I'm like watching two people in a conversation, and you can clearly see one wanting to get out of this situation, but the other one just keeps talking and talking. It's almost like they're not self-aware enough. This other person is looking around. They're taking a step back. They keep trying to end the conversation. They're trying to be polite. And this happens a lot, especially with women I've seen throughout my life in nightclubs and things of that nature. The guy starts talking to her. He's got a horrible rap. He either tries some pickup line bullshit, but he won't let her go. Keeps talking and talking. And you really got to be self-aware, whoever is, in this situation. And here's the thing. If somebody is talking a lot of shit to you, and I know this may sound a little asshole-ish or whatever you want to say. So I do this. I have to cut them off and say, listen, I got you. You know what I mean? We got it. I really have to do that. I'm like, all right, I heard enough. I got you. You know what I mean? And then it doesn't mean I'm going to walk away abruptly, but enough's enough sometimes. People just sometimes either don't have a filter as far as like knowing when to stop, or don't have the common sense to say, I am bogging this person down now. I am at the point where I've gone on too long. And and I get a lot of us, we do, if we're excited about something, and we all fall in this situation, if we're really in love with something we're talking about, right, we all can go on and on and on, right? And you could see this even in the news, in the media. I like to watch a lot of sports, and you could see them go on and on and on. They got to cut each other off. You could see this when it comes to talking about political points on, the news stations, and even in podcasts, people go on and on and on. That's what it's really about. Almost a podcast is an extended, obviously, long-term conversation, which is great when that's the right platform. But when you find yourself sometimes in these situations where you don't have time, or you're getting caught up having to listen to people that are always talking a lot of shit. Now, I have friends that do this, which sometimes it's fun, and I get a big kick out of it, either on the phone or when I'm with them personally. But then there's other times I got to tell them to shut the fuck up. Like, I can't take it anymore. And what's interesting is sometimes I get nuts, and they even have to tell me the same thing. And I don't even take it personal. I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right. I'm going on too long. Or the story's too long. Let's, nip it in the bud. But I just thought I would do a podcast addressing this, because I don't think a lot of people have the self-awareness that they are going on and on and on and boring other people to death, or turning them off instead of like, when you do a lot of shows, I've been involved with a lot of these shows, these conventions, and a lot of times if you're working a booth, I don't always work the booth, to be honest, but sometimes I can. But when you're working a booth, sometimes people come up, possible clients, and people start pitching them, which is great, and they keep pitching them, which is, whatever. But then you could start to see that maybe they're interested, but then I could tell at the booth they don't want to shut up because they think they have someone on the hook, which is fine. I get that's how you got to do sales sometimes. But you can sometimes just see they're trying to walk away from this booth, but they keep nagging them. And I've been on both ends where I had to be the person that kind of had to pitch what, the company was selling. And then I was also on the other end when you were trying to sell me, whatever they were selling at the booth. And I went through that in two different things, two totally different type of companies. And I just remember being kind of you learn being on both sides, how both sides can be very frustrating at times and aggravating, because I'm like a lot of people. I like to buy, but I don't like to be sold. And I think that goes for a lot of people. But then again, there are some great salespeople out there that kind of wear you down, talk a lot of shit to you, and eventually get you to buy. And if you want to buy, God bless. But I also think a lot of times, a lot of salespeople, they keep talking to the point where, like I said earlier, they just turn you off. You just don't want to hear them anymore. And you're just bogged down with all this shit they're talking. And if you are one of these people, you just might pay attention to your behavior, I guess, is what I'm saying. And also, especially on social media, it could be Twitter. Again, you could post whatever the hell you want. But if you're going to, put out a lot of things out there, just make sure they're factual a little bit. Not that you're sharing tons of shit that's full of shit, fake news, whatever the hell you want to call it, or it's a con. Just because you want to believe it doesn't mean it's really real. And again, like when I do my podcast, everything I try to say, it may not be right. It's just my opinion. But I definitely am not going to try to sit here and tell people what they should and shouldn't do. I mean, you could do whatever you want to do. I'm just trying to give people an idea of maybe what they're doing. They could maybe do better, or just take notice of what their behavior is. Or if I do a subject on fitness or whatever it could be, it's just my opinion. But I'm definitely not here to sit here and shove my opinions down someone's throat. And if they don't believe in my opinions, try to tell them that they're wrong. I don't believe in that necessarily. Now, some things I may be right on that are kind of obvious, but then there could be a lot of things I'm wrong about, and I'm willing to learn more. But I just thought I would do a podcast on this because the shit talking that is out there that I see more and more and more, the cons that people try to pitch, that it's, if you do this, this is going to happen. If you do that, that's going to happen. Or people selling things online or telemarketing or even people you meet. It's a lot of bullshit out there, and you just have to make sure you don't get taken advantage of. And if you are one of these bullshitters that's always pitching, or you have what's the word I'm looking for? Some type of, I'm not going to say a con, but some type of hustle. If you're hustling shit that it's you can do whatever you want to do, but sometimes when and I'll just use for existence because I live in Orlando, Florida, if you're hustling, say, timeshare, and this person truly can't probably afford it, and you still try to bullshit them into buying something, or that's kind of a jag-off move. So if you're one of these people that sells things, and I get everyone has to, you got to do sales, you got to make a living, you got to eat. But sometimes just have some common courtesy regarding what you're doing and not burning somebody or convincing them to buy something that either they can't afford, they don't necessarily need, especially if they're elderly. You know what I mean? A lot of these people that are older get convinced to do certain things that may not be the best thing for them, but you just want to make a sale to make some money off them. You probably need a beating. So that's just my opinion. Have some respect for yourself and others. No matter what I was doing, if I was selling something, regardless what it was, I always wanted to make sure I wasn't doing it for the sake of ever hurting them. There's a difference between talking shit and having fun telling stories. But if you're somebody out there who talks shit that is burning people or convincing them to do things that they shouldn't do or misleading them, then like I said, you probably need a beating, and you shouldn't be doing that shit. So I'm going to wrap it up there. If you get a chance, you might want to check out my YouTube channel. I do a lot of things fitness related, also travel all over North America. And I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can find everything on richcelenza.com. All right? Take care, and if you're traveling, safe travels.